Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Sherry Lopez, human trafficking survivor, prevention educator, and founder of Pearl at the Mailbox and the Survivor Informed Learning Institute. Today, I want to talk about something that I believe is one of the most overlooked parts of the grooming process. It's called boundary testing. Remember the 7 steps of grooming? They are selecting a victim, building trust, filling needs, isolation, boundary testing, exploitation, maintain control. Well, today I want to expand on what boundary testing can mean when a victim is in the boundary testing phase, or step 5. As we go through this, I want you to keep in mind that the groomer, or what I like to call a horrible human being, has been and continues to psychologically manipulate the mind of their victim. Groomers are evil people who know exactly what they are doing and why they are doing it. And it breaks my heart to know this is happening to children, teens, and vulnerable adults as you listen to this. I have shared that I speak often throughout the country. And it seems that everywhere I go, someone always comes up to me afterward and says the same thing. I had no idea what grooming meant. I thought kids were just taken. And my response is always the same. It does, and this is why I talk about it. I have no idea what people think of me when I share how easily I was groomed at 15, and that I had no idea what was happening until it became trafficking, which means that my body was being sold to people for money that my trafficker, pimp, kept. I was simply a commodity. People, what will it take to grasp that humans are buying humans for sex, labor, and other forms of abuse? That should alarm everyone. I have learned that people are looking for obvious signs of grooming or abuse. But grooming doesn't usually look the way people expect it to look. Most people picture a dangerous stranger hiding in the shadows, ready to jump out and grab someone. But stop for a second. That's not grooming, that's kidnapping. The end purpose may be the same, but the method isn't. So what is boundary testing? One of the simplest ways I can explain it is this. Boundary testing is the deliberate act of gradually pushing, crossing, or ignoring another person's physical, emotional, social, digital, or personal boundaries to see how they, or the people responsible for protecting them, will respond. Groomers use boundary testing to identify vulnerabilities, gain trust, increase access, and determine whether they can continue escalating their behavior without being challenged. Now let's break that down because it's incredibly important. Boundary testing isn't about breaking one big rule. It's about breaking lots of little ones. It's about seeing how much someone can get away with before anyone notices or says something. They're not necessarily trying to get away with something big, not yet. They're trying to figure out where the boundaries are. They're asking themselves questions like, will anyone notice what I am doing? Will anyone say something about what I am doing? Can I spend time alone with this child without the adults questioning? Will the kid keep a secret because I tell them to or threaten them? Will the parents question me if I spend a lot of alone time with their kid and why I am? Can I slowly become the most important person in this child's life? Will I be able to talk about sex and the kid not get freaked out? Will the kid do things that they are uncomfortable with if I ask them to make me happy or to get a gift or money? Can I get the kid to think that what we do or talk about is our special top secrets? The list could go on. Every answer helps the groomer decide what to do next, and sadly, each successful boundary test makes the next step easier. Here's why so many people miss it. Most of us look at one behavior instead of looking at the pattern. Maybe someone gives a child an unexpected gift. That doesn't automatically mean anything. Maybe they offer to drive them home. Maybe they text them privately. Maybe they create inside jokes. Maybe they call them by a special nickname. Maybe they give them a hug that's just a little longer than normal. Maybe they begin communicating through social media without the parents knowing. Individually, none of those things prove someone is grooming. One behavior alone should never cause us to label someone as a groomer. But grooming isn't about one behavior, it's a pattern. It's about repeated behaviors that slowly increase access, trust, secrecy, dependency, and influence. Each small boundary that is crossed successfully makes the next one easier. Over time, what once seemed inappropriate begins to feel normal. That's what we're looking for. Patterns, not isolated moments. Let me explain something else. Groomers don't just test children, they test adults too, and they're watching to see how everyone responds. Do parents enforce their rules? Will anyone question private communication? Can I get special access? Can I bend the rules just a little? Will anyone challenge me? If nobody says anything, they've learned something valuable. They've discovered where the gaps are. Looking back, when I look back at my own life, I can now see boundary testing that I completely missed as a teenager. Of course I missed it. I was 15 years old. I didn't know what grooming was. I didn't know someone could intentionally build trust for the purpose of exploitation. I thought people who were kind were simply being kind. I didn't understand that some kindness comes with an agenda. That's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about teaching this today. Not because I want people to become suspicious of everyone. I don't. Most people are good people and genuinely care about children, teens, and the vulnerable. But there are individuals who deliberately use trust, kindness, generosity, attention, affection, and patience to gain influence over someone they intend to exploit. That's why I spend so much time talking about grooming instead of only talking about trafficking. If we truly want prevention, we have to recognize the process before exploitation happens. So what should you do? If something feels off, pay attention. You don't need proof to start asking questions. Observe. Document what you're seeing. Look for patterns. Have conversations. Maintain healthy boundaries. Healthy adults respect healthy boundaries. Someone who continually pushes against them, repeatedly seeks exceptions, or ignores established boundaries deserves a closer look. I want to leave you with this thought. Boundary testing isn't always loud. It isn't dramatic. Most of the time, it's quiet. It's subtle. It's easy to explain away. That's exactly why it works. Once you understand what boundary testing looks like, you'll start seeing patterns that may have been invisible before. And sometimes, recognizing those patterns early is what protects a child or vulnerable adult from ever being exploited. Thank you so much for joining me today on Let's Talk About It. If today's episode resonated with you and you'd like to learn more about how grooming develops long before exploitation occurs, I invite you to check out my Recognizing Grooming Before Exploitation Masterclass through the Survivor-Informed Learning Institute that will be launching soon. This survivor-informed training is more than 3 hours of in-depth education where I take you deeper into the grooming process, boundary testing, behavioral patterns, real-world examples, and practical prevention strategies. My hope is that once you understand the patterns, you'll never look at grooming the same way again, because prevention begins with recognizing the pattern. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, awareness is one of the most powerful tools we have to protect children, teens, and vulnerable adults before exploitation ever begins.